so forth. All right. Yes, improvisation over the blues. Nothing as satisfying as that. I really love doing that. Yet, improvisation is maybe not exactly what you might think. It's not this magical thing that just happens when you put your fingers on the fretboard. Yes, there is a part of making up something new on the spot. Absolutely. But you need to have a foundation. You need to have the right state of mind. And you need to have the concept of layers in mind. So what do I mean by that? Well, that's exactly the subject of this video, and that's coming up. Hi, my name is David Wallerman. Welcome to this channel, which is all about helping guitar players like us all find our voice on the instrument, develop it to tell our own personal musical story. There's something unique in each of us, and this journey that we're on is all about being able to communicate that uniqueness on this foreign object, the guitar, so that it's not as foreign. This is our pencil. We are the author. It's not the pencil that tells the story, it's the author. Let's learn how to use this and communicate our own ideas. And in this video, we're going to talk about that communication thing, making up something on the spot, having a subject, a guideline, a storyline, and then rolling with it. Kind of like what I'm doing with these videos, really. And kind of like we're doing every single day in conversations. Not all the conversations that we have in our days are planned, right? They're not written speech. And we do this very naturally when we speak to people. We have the main topic, we think of the idea, and we deliver the idea through our mouth. Same thing happens when we improvise. But even more than that, there are different layers, there are different degrees of conversation and different degrees of comfort zones that we operate in. And it's the same exact thing here. And I feel that we can break down the improvisation process into 4 different layers. The first layer being very simple, maybe not as expressive and colorful as the 4th layer, yet a very safe layer. And the analogy is if you take a toddler who's learning how to speak, he will tell you the basic things that he needs. He will tell you that he's hungry. He will tell you that he needs to be changed. He'll tell you all those things. Maybe not with proper words, maybe not with all the vocabulary that an adult would say, but he can still go straight to the point. Musically, what does that mean? That means that we are operating that first layer using very safe notes. And the safest notes that you can play over a chord are the notes of the chords, arpeggios, right? So if we take this blues that I was playing over, a very basic blues, the chords are, there are only 3 chords there. We have a G dominant 7 or G7, then we have a C7, and then we have a D7. 3 different chords. And what we can do is over that G7, if we want to operate in the first layer, just play notes of that G7. Now, that chord that I was playing, there are 6 pitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but some of these pitches have the same function. They're the same notes. If we're to break down the actual notes of G7, we have 4 notes. We have a root, a major 3rd, a 5th, and a minor 7th. They're reorganized in different ways on the fretboard for fingering purposes and for fullness purposes, so that we're hearing a full chord instead of just 4 notes. We have 6. But really, we just have those 4 types of notes, the root, the major 3rd, the 5th, and the minor 7th. And so in an improv, if I wanted to operate in that first layer, I would use the notes of G7 over the G7. And then when we move to C7, I would just use the notes of C7, and same with D7. It's a very, very safe approach. I'm going to play a little bit with that. It's not super colorful, but it still works. So here's that first layer of improv. Over the G7, what will I do? I will play G7. And C7, D7. That's the first layer. Back to G7. Back to C7. Now it's not super expressive. I could try to make it expressive, maybe by changing the order of the notes. Instead of playing the notes in order, I can vary that. We'll repeat some notes, have some rhythm. Make sure that I change when the chord changes. Right, very, very safe. It works, it sounds fine. Right, no problem there, but it's maybe not as colorful as you would like it to be. That's where you move on to layer 2. So again, there are 4 layers, I think, in my opinion, that you can operate in. And then, of course, I don't want you to think that layer 4 is better than 1. They all have their different purposes. So layer 1 is the basic musical information that you can give. It's very, very safe, and usually you want to start with that. When you're jamming with someone, you're not quite sure what they're going to play, what they're going to throw at you. Just a few notes in that first layer. You're kind of testing the waters. It's kind of like joining a conversation. First, you listen a lot. And then a few words here and there like, hi, or then you introduce yourself, but you're not going to start with some very detailed pieces of the story, right? You're not super intimate yet. Just start easily into it. Layer 2 is not as safe as layer 1, and that's where we're going to start to make words, licks, that are a little more colorful, and for that we're going to use more notes in our alphabet. And I feel that it's still a safe layer. Layer 2 would be the pentatonic layer, and most players use that, pentatonic layer, 5 notes. And instead of bringing these 3 chords to one alphabet, typically if we're in blues and G, people would use the G minor pentatonic. That's fine. You can definitely do that. That's going to sound good. But what I would recommend to get used to following the chords is to associate with each chord a pentatonic scale. Now what that means is on a minor chord, G minor for example, we will play a minor pentatonic scale. On a major chord, we're going to play a major pentatonic scale. And generally speaking, that's going to work. Not always. I know there are exceptions. Don't worry about that for now. We're going to consider that there are no exceptions and that music is all nice and pretty and it's always going to work. So just think in that term, like minor chord, minor pentatonic, major chord, major pentatonic. In this particular case, in that blues that we were playing, we had 3 major types of chords. We had a G dominant 7, a C7, dominant 7, and a D dominant 7. So we could play a G major pentatonic scale over the G7, a C major pentatonic over C7, and a D major pentatonic over D7. Okay, that's typically going to work, and it's going to be a little more colorful because you have a little bit more notes to play with. It's not as safe because of what I just told you. Sometimes you're not going to be able to associate a pentatonic scale with the chords. For example, if you had a diminished chord, which is made of root, minor third, diminished fifth, diminished seventh, well, you can't associate the typical minor pentatonic scale in there because of the diminished fifth and the diminished seventh. But that's for a different time, a different place. For now, just consider that it's going to work. Just know that it's not as safe as speaking first layer, just the notes of your chords. But let's give that a try in layer 2 here. At some point, I'm going to have like a foot switch for the backing track. It'll be better. But for now, that's what I do. Let's give that a try. Layer number 2, on the first chord, G7, I can play G major pentatonic scale. C7, C major pentatonic. Back to G major pentatonic. Now that doesn't mean that I've got to play all the notes. As you're noticing here, I'm trying to phrase, making some words. A few letters, a few notes are enough. That works, right? And that'll be layer number 2. Okay, no problem. So that's layer number 2. It's not as safe, but it's a little more colorful. This word from layer 1 is not as expressive as this word in layer 2. right? There are more notes and more nuances that you can add. That'll be layer 2. Most players operate in layer 2 right there with pentatonic notes. Layer 3, in my opinion, would be an even richer alphabet, musical alphabet. We're talking about modes, the 7 note scales. And that's even riskier than level 2 and even riskier than level 1 because you have even more notes. And the more notes you have to choose from, the more careful you've got to be because you can hit the wrong note just like that. But for this, we're going to look at the type of chord and try to associate with that chord a 7-note scale, a mode that would fit that. And there are a lot of rules. This is not an in-depth, modal class, but generally speaking, if you have a G7 chord, G dominant 7, you're going to play Mixolydian on there. So here we have 3 dominant 7 chords. We have a G7, C7, and D7. So on the G7, I'm going to play G Mixolydian. On the C7, I'll play C Mixolydian. And D7, D Mixolydian. So richer words, more chances of messing up, and that would be layer 3. So let's give that a try. Layer 3, here it is. I'm just going to play those 7-letter alphabets. On G Mixolydian for G7, C Mixolydian, back to G Mixolydian. Back to C Mixolydian, G Mixolydian. I don't know what that was, but here's D Mixolydian, C Mixolydian, and G Mixolydian. Okay, so richer words there, more expressive, but we're approaching the highly dangerous zone here because the more notes you have, the more chances of making a mistake. That'll be layer 3. Layer 4 is playing outside. That's where you use exotic scales, and that's where you've got to be absolutely sure that you know what you're doing there because you can make a full build-up crawl like be flushed down the toilet if you don't do it right. And the key thing here is, I'll tell you that after actually, but let me show you what layer 3 is. Layer 3 would be all the symmetrical scales maybe, like the whole tone scale from G. Kind of, symmetrical yet a little dissonant, or the diminished world. Or all the chromatic stuff. Okay, anything that's outside will be the 4th layer here. Let's try that a little bit. It's going to sound completely off because I'm starting right away with layer 4. But, it could be whole tone. Maybe some chromatics. Now I know if you just caught this video right now and you're hearing this, yes, it sounds horrible. I know, that's layer 4. That's the layer of confusion in a way, but it has its use. Now, before we go a little further with our lesson here, there is a common thing between these 4 layers, and that's phrasing. So the layers are basically alphabets, right, that you're choosing from to create your words. Layer 1, very basic words. Think toddler, baby, not much vocabulary, but straight to the point. Layer 2 is a little more advanced, where you can start telling stories and things. That's pentatonic. Layer 3 would have more vocabulary. That's the layer of if you're an author who's writing a book, like more vocabulary and so forth. And layer 4 is a little crazy, but not too crazy because of the common thing between these layers, which is phrasing and more particularly rhythm. Rhythm is everything. And there's so many players who I'm talking to that say the same thing, that yes, rhythm is really at the key of all of that. A couple months ago at GitCon in Germany, I was having a conversation with Tom Quayle, and that's what he said. That's exactly what he said. Like, it's all about rhythm. Without rhythm, it all falls down. But you can play anything and make people accept what you're playing if you have the right rhythm. So that's the first clue as to how to blend all these layers together. Rhythm. And how do you work on that? Well, you work on that by just listening to something, a conversation that you're going to join, like that backing track, and you just start to speak rhythmically, just with taka 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 ta. So this will be our groove, and then you start developing rhythm motifs. Taka ta, taka taka ta, taka, da 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 da. Da 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 da, that kind of thing, and then you just play it. You pick a layer, first layer, and I'm gonna play the notes, words from that layer with that da 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 da. And then maybe layer 2. Layer 3. Maybe layer 4. And so forth. Okay? So rhythm is super important regardless of the layer you're operating in. And then to build your improv, like I was doing at the beginning, what's important is to realize which layer you're operating in. And how would the listener digest what you're telling him? So if you're starting right away with layer 4, your speech is probably not going to be accepted. In other words, if you're joining a conversation, there's a group of people here who are talking, you're jumping in and you tell them right away with your theory of the universe and how it is created with a spark called the Big Bang or whatever it is. Well, I don't know that it will be accepted right away by these people. So build your improv from layer to layer. Start simple. Start by saying hi to the conversation that you're joining, to the group of people you're joining. Start to say hi musically over what you're playing over. So how does that look like? That looks like simple words from layer number 1. Very simple. That's going on already. You're not going to start speaking right away. Just say hi. You don't have to be timid, but don't overstep on the conversation. I was kind of timid, but that worked. I'll say it again, but this time we're on the C. Just first layer still. Notes from the first layer. Still the first layer. And then once you feel confident, you can start picking words from layer number 2. Say it again. That's pentatonic, right? Back to layer 1. And as you're building your approach, you gradually increase the level that you're on. Still going back to level 1 when you get too tired or when you feel that it's too out there. But I'll try to do that. So I'm still in layer 1. I'll use a little bit of layer 2. Layer 3. I'll play a little bit in layer 4. Back to layer 1. So it's a balance of things. It's a story that is going on, and you're operating in all of those different layers. That's how I tend to think when I improvise. I try to be keep aware of which layer I'm in, from 1 to 4. I always start with layer 1. Actually, I start with level 0. I don't even speak at all. I let them do the thing so that I can ease into the conversation. And then at some point, I will probably be, at least layer 3. Sometimes I touch layer 4, but not too long. Then I go back to layer 1 to bring back the listener to a place where you can relate to what I'm telling him musically. All these things are super important, and they're really fun because you discover a lot of things about yourself, about your playing that comes out naturally, and that's where you can really develop that voice that is inside of you. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you take it to heart, and I want to tell you about something going on this week. Actually, in the next 2 weeks, actually until the end of December. There we go. I said it. My buddy, Robert Redman, who's an awesome guitar educator. He has a very successful channel too. And he's a great player, great teacher, and a super nice guy. And I have put together a huge bundle, a blues bundle. And that bundle can be purchased on the link that you find below. It is only available in December, and it's a collection of a lot of different blues courses. You're going to get tons of backing tracks, hours and hours of lessons, just like this one, taught by myself and Robert Redman. You buy it once, and then it's lifetime access to all that. You can stream all the lessons as long as you are alive, and you can download the backing tracks and all that. This bundle altogether is valued at quite a bit. If you were to buy everything individually, let me tell you, because I can't remember, this is kind of a crazy thing. $746 if you were to buy everything. And this is not a compilation of old lessons that we don't sell anymore. No, these are actually at the core of our livelihood. And we bundled all these things together as a thank you for watching our videos, and thank you for your support. And you can get all this $746 worth of material for $147. That's it. So do it now, and you'll have, months, years of valuable resources to practice. And this is a blues bundle that I think will do wonders to your playing. Check it out. At least check it out. And I'll tell you more about it on a future video. And if this was your first visit to this channel, you should subscribe, because every single week, 3 videos like this one come out, helping guitar players like you, like them, like me too. I'm learning so much by doing these. Develop our inner voice and bring it out on the instrument to tell our own personal musical story. Thank you so much for watching this. If you want to get the backing track that I was playing over, you can do that for free. Visit the link below. Also, I'll leave all the info, and click on that link to check out the big blues bundle. Limited time. This is December only, December 2017. After that, it will no longer be available. You can still get those courses, but it'll cost you $747-ish instead of $147. Thank you for watching this. I'll see you very soon. Practice well.